What's going on, guys? My name is Johnny Trumbucas, and today I'd like to show you what tools I have and how I have them organized in this 240 square foot workshop. But first, let's talk about the space itself. This is a Shelter Logic garage, and it is 20 feet by 12 feet. And I've been in this space for 2 years, which means I've gone through winters and through summers. And to help make those a little bit easier, I added pink rigid foam insulation in the ceiling and in the walls. There are some bare spots, like you can see behind me, just because I ran out of the material. So let's get started. One key to any great workshop is lighting. So I added 2 of these 4-foot LED strips, and that is plenty of light to light up the entire space. I also have this small light above my workbench to add more direct overhead lighting. This is the front of my workshop. Most of the time I enter and exit through this zipper here. If I need to load in or out any large materials, I can unzip both sides and the entire section rolls up. So right here is the front door, or zipper. And right next to that is an area that I can store small pieces of plywood and MDF. These are usually offcuts from old projects. Right next to that is a bandsaw. I got this from Jimmy DeResta, so thank you, bud. I really appreciate it, and it gets a ton of use. And right next to that is the all-important fire extinguisher. Every shop needs one. If you don't have one, get one. You never know when you're going to need it. Hopefully, you never need it. Underneath the bandsaw is a small storage section. I have my circular saw, some bandsaw blades stored under there. Moving on down from the bandsaw, I have my planer and lumber storage area. I have enough clearance to store about 10 to 12 feet of lumber underneath there, and I have just as much space to plane anything just as long. Above the planer, I have this fan. This acts as a fan just to circulate air. I can also pop on one of these air filters and use this as an air filter when I'm sanding or anything like that. That creates a lot of fine dust. I also have this plugged into a remote, so I can turn this on and off remotely. The same thing with my dust collector, which we'll get to in a bit. And also for the planer, I have this Dust Right bag. This is the bag that you get with the dust collector. Since this planer has a built-in fan, I don't need to hook up the dust collector directly to it, so all the chips collect in this bag and then I can empty that when needed. I have this section here that's storage for small cutoffs that are hardwoods and softwoods, so if I need a small piece of walnut, I can most likely search here and find what I need. Let's get into this clamp storage. There's a lot of downsides in working in a tent like this. The most obvious might be that I can't hang anything on the walls. So I made this freestanding clamp rack that is tucked away in the corner, and I have it here so that it does not influence any in-feed or out-feed space needed for different tools. Moving on from the clamps, I have my drill press. I absolutely love this drill press. It has handled everything I've thrown at it, and it's definitely way more than I need right now. The cool thing about this specific drill press is that it has an oscillating feature. So there's a belt up here that you can change, and when that's engaged, the chuck oscillates up and down, so you can throw a sanding drum on here, and this doubles as a spindle sander. The drill press itself is sitting on this cart where I have storage for different types of hardware in here, as well as all of my drill bits, which come in handy right under the drill press. Underneath that is kind of catch-all for a bunch of different things. As you can see, I have rags, and there's a few other things in the back. That area needs a bit of cleaning. I might add some more drawers underneath here just to make it a little more useful. The area next to the drill press is a work in progress. Right now it is a very simple plywood and 2x4 workbench. The bottom is completely unorganized, and I actually want to change this out for drawers and cabinets to make it a little more functional and keep the dust away from certain tools. I try to keep the top of this workbench completely clear so that I can have some extra workspace to stage different parts. I also keep my joiner up here, which I use over on my main workbench. Next to this area is my dust collector. This is the Dust Right wall-mounted dust collector, which of course I can't mount on any walls, so I built a cart for it, and I can wheel this out to different locations of the shop as I need, which I don't do very often since I have this hose that can reach to any tool that has a dust port. I like this dust collector because it's small and works for this space. I also have this 33-gallon drum that I jerry-rigged into a dust separator. Moving on from dust collector, I have this belt and disc sander combo, which I picked up from an estate sale. That is a great place to find used tools, so look at ones in your area if you are thinking about picking up a new tool. And this thing runs brand new, so I am super happy that I picked it up. Moving on from that, I have my workbench, and I have a video on building this 2x4 top coming out pretty soon, so subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss it. I picked up this workbench from Craigslist, and it had a different top on it. It was just a plywood top. These 3 top drawers were already in the unit when I picked it up, and I added these 3 bigger ones down here. Last but certainly not least is the table saw. This is a SawStop contractor model, and every single project I make in here touches this saw at some point. Moving on past that, I have a garbage can and my broom closet. Working in a space like this definitely has its limitations. As I mentioned, I can't hang up anything on the walls. Also, in the winter, it gets very cold in here despite the insulation. I have 2 small electric space heaters that heat up the entire space very quickly. In the summer, it does get very hot, so I roll up the front door and have a fan blowing out all the hot air that accumulates in this space. Despite it being a small space, I have built some large projects in here, including conference tables, dining tables, full window displays for stores, and queen-size beds. Oh, really quick, let's talk about the floor. I am on a plot of land that is dirt, so obviously I can't have that for a shop floor. So what I did is I placed bricks on top of the dirt and tried to level those out as much as possible. On top of that, I placed pallets that I picked up for free, and on top of that, I have 1/2-inch plywood floors. Despite my best efforts to get this as flat as possible, these floors are completely uneven. They wave from left and right, front to back, and they completely break the laws of physics. If you have a small shop, I would love to hear what space-saving techniques you have, so leave them down in the comments. Thanks again, and I hope to see you in the next video.